combine small town roots with business savvy, and you've got the Rural Rundown podcast. We're sharing our marketing and branding strategies, tips, and tricks that rural businesses can use to educate, inspire, and entertain their customers, and to help you make sales and hit profit goals. So what does it take to go from your mom is your only fan to famous in a small town? Tune in and listen up as we feature business owners and organizations that are doing big things in their community and creating opportunities for generations to come.
Hey guys, we're back with another episode of the Rural Rundown podcast. And today we have a really special guest. But before that, Rachel, how are things in your neck of the woods?
Things have really transitioned to fall over here. We are shooting this October 12th. We're recording this, so that kind of gives a reference.
Yeah.
Lots of the roads around here are busy with trucks. People are taking out the sugar beets. My husband, they didn't do sugar beets this year, so they only actually have corn left. They got through edible beans and soybeans. So this is kind of like, we're kind of rounding out the season if we get really good weather. So that's kind of crazy to think about, yet it is still really busy. So it's kind of that crazy time. I feel like my brain is on autopilot a little bit, but yes, we're doing okay.
I love it. We are on the road again. For everybody that thought that we retired from Always Images and traveling, joke's on you and us, apparently, because we are constantly on the road. We're in Roswell, New Mexico today, and it's beautiful here too. It's cool getting over to these parts out of Phoenix because they have more leaves that change colors, which like Phoenix doesn't. And I'm from Wisconsin, so I always love to see the changing colors. Really reminds me of like harvest in this time of year. So yeah, that's awesome.
Oh, that's a nice, beautiful little perk. I love that.
It is. So today's guest we have on our podcast, I love her. I love everything that she's up to. Sara Hunter is her name. I met her 2 years ago almost in November. Met her 2 years ago at a photography workshop in Fort Worth, Texas. She and her husband are based in Washington, and they kind of have their hands in a whole bunch of unique things. They raise Christmas trees, they raise pumpkins for a pumpkin patch, they raise beef cattle, and they work with a few other families to offer direct to consumer beef boxes. She also has 3 little kids that she homeschools, and beyond all of that, she really does really well like homesteading and creating her old stuff. She talked to us today. She was like, what was the thing, Rach? Something about like being a young mom, but like in old school things and how she does things like that. So this conversation I love today. Rachel, what was your favorite part about our conversation with Sara?
I really enjoyed when she kind of shared about her process of like creating content throughout the week and kind of giving herself some boundaries on what she does throughout the week and when she stops. And I also really like the conversation about Reels and how she said that has helped kind of grow her platform and help people learn a little bit more about the different businesses they had. So what about you? What stuck out to you?
You know what I liked so much about our conversation with her. Obviously, I loved the Christmas tree part because I'm so curious about like we think about a lot of different things in agriculture, but I don't think we ever consider Christmas trees. It's something that's very unique and something that I'm like, oh, I can ask 1,000 questions about. But I really think my favorite part about this whole interview, you guys have to go over to YouTube to watch the recording, is that she had her baby Greer with her. And it was so fitting to be like, hey, I'm a mom, I'm busy, I got all this stuff going on, and Greer's gonna hang out with us today. And she was so cute and she was perfect through the whole thing. So that's what I enjoyed about today, was just the whole conversation that we had, the whole atmosphere that we had going on.
Yeah, it was very like real life and mom life, and I think it was probably like fit who Sara is, and I think that's beautiful. So
absolutely. All right, guys. Well, I hope you will enjoy this conversation we had today with Sara Hunter.
So I am Sara Hunter with Hunter Farms. I married my husband about 12 years ago, and their family owns Hunter Farms. Hunter Farms started in 1889, and they've been farming in the Olympic Peninsula of Washington since then. And then my husband and I, we live about 2 hours from there, and we move back and forth during different seasons. We go from Ellensburg to the Olympic Peninsula, just depending on our seasons. And we do pumpkins, Christmas trees, and we raise beef and hay.
And I love the Christmas tree aspect because I've never met somebody who like raises Christmas trees. So by following your social media and what you guys do, I love how you're always like informing people about a part of agriculture that I think is so unique in like what you're doing. So I love that. Sarah and I met at a photography workshop. So she also like kills it with the visuals on social media, which we totally love to see. But yeah, Washington, tell us a little bit about the moving back and forth and why you do that.
So the reason that we do that on the Olympic Peninsula, they get like 60 to 80 inches of rain a year, which is a lot. So for cattle during the winter time, that's hard, like on their feet. So my husband's family, I guess I would say, they bought a place in Ellensburg, Washington, which is in central Washington. We get 9 inches of rain a year. So they bought that property about 25 years ago, and we haul our cattle to the winter time to Ellensburg. So it's just a lot easier on their feet. We calve out there because it gets so cold. It's just a lot easier on the cattle. And then summertime, we move our cattle back to Olympic Peninsula where like the grass is lush and we have tons of property to graze, is kind of why we did that. I met Chase in college 12 years ago and we just hit it off and we've been together ever since. So,
do you have a farming background?
Yeah, actually I do. My dad owns Irish Eyes Garden Seeds, which is an organic seed company. And so I grew up more in like the seed industry. So we grew potato seed and garlic seed and vegetable seeds. So I have an agriculture background, but then when I married my husband, like cattle, animals are just way different. It's totally was kind of a learning curve for sure.
Yeah, I've never heard of anybody like moving their cattle like that far. So this is really interesting. Is this kind of unique, or do a lot of people do that in the area?
I mean, I guess I wouldn't say that they would move them. Some, yes, some do and some don't. It's just kind of unique and it works out really well for like our program.
Yeah.
With lots of green grass here, and then we calve out in, yeah, I don't know. It works out really good for us. And it's actually funny. My husband right now is gone. So we're hauling in the belly of our cattle trailer. We haul our pumpkins. We put pumpkins in it. And then he goes back to his dad's place, unloads the pumpkins because they have a huge pumpkin patch. He weans our calves and we take our calves back here, and so it's a good back haul. So we put pumpkins in the cattle pot, they head over, we get cattle, and then they come back. And then we just do that back and forth like 4 or 5 times in October.
Is the
That's so awesome.
farm on the peninsula too? Is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so the little town that they live in, it's called the Christmas Tree USA is what they call Christmas Town USA. Yeah. So it's kind of neat.
That sounds.
Did you ever imagine yourself living this life where you raise Christmas trees?
Christmas trees, no, but I always joke that I like fell in love with my husband because they said that he had a pumpkin patch, and like I always wanted a pumpkin patch because we always grew pumpkins for seed, but you can't sell the pumpkin if you're growing seed because you need the seed. And we had loads of pumpkins, and I would always tell my dad, I'm gonna have a pumpkin patch when I grow up. I'm gonna have a pumpkin patch when I grow up. Well, now I do. So
I love that. So with your seed background, because you do a little bit of like a greenhouse as well, right?
Yeah, I just have like it's just like my hobby. I plant my own starts, and then we have our own garden, and I try to produce. I just try not to go to the grocery store. So we try and grow everything that we can on our place and supplement through the grocery store. Yeah.
How long
Which is so cool.
to do that and to like do that successfully? Does it take a lot of planning, or what's kind of the process with that? I'm curious.
Yeah, winter time is kind of like my planning and like dreaming, and you're planning your garden, getting seeds ready, looking through seed catalogs and that kind of stuff. And then I just, with experience, I know like when to plant, but I have like a calendar. I plan it out on a calendar and when to plant and that kind of stuff. And I have lots of help like from my dad and my sister. They only live like 15 minutes away. So
Oh, that's nice.
yeah.
I feel like I try to have a garden every year and then it just goes to weed, but at least I tried. So people who can do it successfully, I'm like, what are your secrets?
Just lots of planning and reading.
Yeah.
So with everything that you've got going on, you guys have the beef. So first of all, back up. Tell us about PNW Beef and what role that plays in your family and your operation.
Yeah, so PNW Beef was started from our really close friend Kyler Beard, and he kind of came to us and he's like, hey, I have this feed program and I want you guys to be a part of it, and I want to sell direct beef and I need your help, Sarah. Like, I want you guys to be a part of it and I want your help. And we just thought it was really neat because the way that he's feeding the cattle, it's all from byproducts that are local to us. So we finish our cattle on spent brewer's grain from our local brewery in the county, and then we get bakery waste from Northwest Bakeries, and then hay chaff from our local hay presses, which is basically just the floor sweepings. And they just put it in a truck and they haul it to our place, and then we mix it up in our big tub grinder, and then we dispense that out onto the pasture, and then it makes for a really like unique taste, and flavor is incredible.
That's awesome. So with all of these things that you have going on, you guys have the beef, you have the pumpkins, you have the Christmas trees, you're homeschooling your kids, you're homesteading a lot of stuff. You make your own butter, you have your greenhouse, you're like doing all of this. Talk to us a little bit about the marketing side of things and how social media kind of plays a role in everything that you're doing.
Oh, how does social media play a role? I don't get out a lot. So for me, social media is a way to connect with other people that I don't would never be able to meet in person. Also, I kind of started just doing it because I didn't want to have to text every single family member what's going on and what we're doing. And then I just people like to see our stuff and our story, and I like sharing it. And it just kind of went from there. And then the videoing and like the reels, I just have so much fun with it that it just has kind of, I don't know, organically taken off. Yeah.
When I was looking at your guys' Instagram or your Instagram, that's exactly what I thought. I'm like, man, she has a lot of fun with these reels.
Well, it's just like, I'm like home alone and with the kids, and I'm like, oh, this is kind of fun. And like the boys think it's hilarious. Like they think it's hilarious. And sometime I'm going to try and get my husband to do one, but he's like, not quite yet, Sarah.
Need a little lead time there to warm up.
Yes.
Do you kind of have maybe some advice for like a business that knows they should probably be on reels, but they're kind of not sure how to go about it? Do you kind of have a process or a system you could share?
I would just say, like, just do it. Like, just do it. Start with something really simple. You can just, a lot of the reels are recording someone else's voice. Just to like, once you get those first two reels like out of your system and the nervousness, I guess, then it just all kind of naturally happens, and I would just do it. The reels have been, I think, what my growth on my Instagram has helped like tremendously. You just gotta do it. And find your niche, I think, is huge too. Like find something that you want to talk about, or want to influence is also big.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have been saying, that growth that they're seeing from Reels is really like the big payoff. Like if you are hesitant or you are like, I'm one of them where I'm like, I just don't have, it's just one more thing to do. Like I always forget to video myself when I think about like, I should do a Reel or a TikTok like that. But I think the growth is kind of the payoff that people are seeing that makes them want to keep doing them and keep up with it.
Yeah, and I would say it's not like it doesn't like happen overnight. I mean, I've had Reels that only had say 1,000 views, and then 2 weeks later, you're at over 100,000 views. Like it can just take off when you don't even think it's going to.
Yeah, today I read that the lifespan of a Reel, like, like our posts, they get about 24 hours that we post on Instagram, but the lifespan of a Reel is about 1 month. And I'm like, geez, 30 days, like that's another big thing too, where it's like, if you can make one piece of content that's gonna like have a lifespan of 30 days, that's huge in today's world where things happen so fast.
And you don't have to pay for it. Like usually you have to pay for that. Wow.
I mean, I would say it takes me like five minutes of my time a day. I mean, that's not very much.
Right.
Also,
right. So
say like you've gotten better, over the amount of time you've been doing it. I mean,
yeah, I mean, you get better each time that you do it. And I try and only spend even like 5 minutes like looking at Reels, because you can really take a deep dive. And then I just am like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And load the kids up and we go out to the field or just do whatever. Yeah.
Can you talk to us a little bit about the marketing that comes with the pumpkin patch and the Christmas trees? Because you guys have Christmas tree lots, right? You have multiple.
So we have one. We do wholesale Christmas trees, but then we do like 80% of our sales is through our retail Christmas tree lot. And it's in Seattle, like the heart of Seattle. So we haul our Christmas trees 2 hours to Seattle. We're there for 30 days at the tree lot. It's my husband, myself, and then Chase's aunt and uncle are there. And then we have family members that come on the weekends because weekends are generally busier. But Chase's grandma bought this lot in Seattle in the 60s. So they've owned it for a really long time, and they started selling Christmas trees in 1955.
Wow. That's awesome. So talk to us about the marketing side of it, because I see a lot of what you put on social media. Is it more than just having a good location? Like what else are you guys doing to attract people?
The name Hunter Farms just has been around for so long, and we've been at the exact same place since 1963 that we have people that buy Christmas trees from us. They're like, oh, we've been doing it for 35 years. Like I've never missed a day, a day at Hunter Farm. Like that's where we only get our trees. So it's just, we've been there for so long with the Christmas trees that people just know that we'll be there. And we have everyone just raves about, the quality of our trees. And, also it was huge that people loved that it was like a family thing. I mean, it's great grandma comes, aunt and uncles come, Chase and I come, and then we bring our kids, and I don't know, people enjoy seeing that. As for like the marketing side, I mean, we post to social media and to get people out at like our U-Cut. We do have a radio thing during like November and December. But most of it is word of mouth is big. Yeah.
That's crazy. I feel like a lot of the older businesses rely on word of mouth, but like you said too, when you have a location that's so prime and it's been there for years and years, like it's interesting to see that like you can get to a point, your business can get to a point where like you no longer need to pay for like paid advertising, where it just becomes a thing where it's like
Yeah.
everybody knows about it and you do enough business that it's at that point. That's way cool.
Yeah, with my, like, I have a little pumpkin patch like here in Ellensburg, and so it's only like our 3rd year that we've opened it to the public. So it's been really fun to be able to like see the growth, because this year has definitely been our busiest year, which has been really exciting. And a lot of it is through social media, like posting through social media, and also just like living in a small town, you can still put like flyers on, your local joints, and people will call you and come out.
Yep. I love that. I just think of like the bakery,
Yeah,
our like hometown bakery. That's where you put stuff up and the gossip, like everybody knows what's going on there.
Yeah, well, we have like the mini mart. Well, everyone gets like their coffee, and that's where you find out what's going on.
It's funny.
I feel like you're living a Hallmark movie. Like,
you're not the first person to say that. Yeah, I mean, I like it because everyone really is like pumpkin time. Everyone's so happy. Like Christmas trees, everyone is so happy, and it is kind of, but it is a lot of work and a lot of prep time. And we're away from home in, during December. We're there from the day after Thanksgiving till the 23rd of December. So we're gone. I don't put my Christmas tree up until the 24th.
wow.
Yeah.
That's a little crazy. Talk to me, because I'm really curious about the lifespan of a Christmas tree. So how long are you guys growing these trees before you cut them? And then like how often are you planting new trees?
So we plant new trees every year. We harvest anywhere between like 4,500 to 6,000 Christmas trees, and then we'll plant 6,000 to 10,000 a year. So a noble fir, which is like 90% of what we grow, after we plant them, after they're 2 years old, they will grow 6 inches to a foot a year. So we will sell anything from 3 to 4 feet to like 15 to 16 feet.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is a ton of trees. And I've seen your stories. So I see you guys, like, you wrap them up, you put them in the semi, and then like the semi is packed full of Christmas trees. You're taking those to your lot in like downtown Seattle. But like to hear the number 6,000 trees, 4,500 to 6,000 trees, like holy smokes.
Yeah, it's a lot. And it's just so my husband and then his dad, they cut all the trees. And then we have a crew that drags the trees, and then we bale them and haul them, and then Chase hauls them into Seattle.
Yeah, I love that. Have you had a lot of response when you share those things? Have you had a lot of response from people who like didn't know anything about the industry and they're just curious?
Yes, I do. Like that time of year when I start sharing the trees is one of my most popular like times for my Instagram, because I don't know, people see, it's something that I don't think people think about, like how that tree got to the store or to that lot. Yeah. And I mean, there's tons of prep time. We have, like, every year we have to shear them, which is like basically shaping them, because if you don't do that, you get like more of a wild looking tree that you would see out like in the wilderness. So you have to shear them, and then we also fertilize once a year, and just so it keeps that nice like bluish green color. So there's a lot of prep work to it that people forget about.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's so much. Well, I feel like Christmas trees are fairly universal too, right? There's so many people that, like you said, people are cheery during the holidays, so they have that kind of emotional attachment to Christmas trees. So then when they get the inside look of like how it happens, that's how I feel at least. And I'm like, oh, I want to know more. Like, share all the things.
Yeah.
I have a couple questions for you about Christmas trees. Did you grow up as a kid with a real tree in your house?
Yes, but we were the family that we would go and buy like the $5 ticket and you would go up to, up to the mountains and cut your own. And I like literally hated it because I wanted the perfect Christmas tree. And my dad was all about like the experience. And where we lived, there's not Christmas tree farms on the east side of Washington. Like you either buy one at a lot or you go up in the mountains. And so and I like hated it. And then when I met Chase, I mean, now I have like the perfect tree in my eyes, so it was kind of funny. My dad was like, thank goodness. Because it was it was a Charlie Brown tree and I didn't want a Charlie Brown tree.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Do you have a couple tips for people or things people should know when they're like trying to pick out a tree for themselves? What would you say to them?
I guess not necessarily a tip, but I guess this is a tip. You need to get a fresh cut on your tree. So before you put that tree up, 30 minutes before, you need to take off at least an inch of the bottom of the stump. And then you put it in water. And the first 24 to 48 hours, your tree, don't ever let it go dry. And your tree will consume about 2 gallons of water. And I've lasted, I mean, you can have a tree in your house as long as you keep water in it and you give it that fresh cut. I mean, I've had it well over a month.
Wow. I did not know that they would consume that much water. Like,
yeah. So you got to like break that seal. You got to give them at least an inch, like fresh cut is what we call it. And then they suck up all of that water.
Wow. So I am curious now what your dad, because you said you're 15 minutes from your dad and your sister. We've kind of heard like through this interview that a few times your dad is like, good thing you married who you did marry. Like, is that kind of like a common theme between you guys with the pumpkin patch, the trees, like the homesteading, all of it?
Yeah. I mean, my dad, my sister now owns the seed company. My dad helps her out, but he's mostly kind of semi-retired. But yeah, I don't know. I just always wanted to have a garden and farm and do that. Yeah. It was just kind of a dream. Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about because recently I've been seeing you share more about like homesteading. I saw you make your own butter a few weeks ago. You're homeschooling your kids. Is that a kind of community that you hope to build on social media, like sharing these things, or is that you just sharing your life?
I mean, that's me sharing my life, but I would also, love to meet other like young moms that like to do old-fashioned things. I mean, I love old-fashioned things. I love to crochet. I love to knit. Like I like making butter and homemade things. Yeah. So I would love to have a community of other, young moms in my generation, because I think it's kind of a lost art. I think a lot of people don't know how to do that. And I would, love to meet other moms that would like to do that.
How do you let people into your life via social media without like feeling like you're putting everything out there?
I don't share obviously I don't share everything, and it is a hard balance. But like my husband, he doesn't really like social media, and he doesn't like to really be shown all that much. So I just kind of like leave him out of it. I have another, like our second son, he doesn't really like even his picture taken. So I just, leave it out of him. But I try and share the good and the bad, but of course I don't share like everything. Yeah.
So like you obviously have a photography background. So like a lot of your visuals, like people are like, this is the highlight reel, this is whatever. But as a mom, because I'm not a mom, Rachel, you're a mom too. As a mom, is it kind of like, well, you're documenting this, you go back to it and look at it. Do you always have a camera on hand? Are you shooting with your phone? Like, how are you curating what you share on social?
I don't always have my camera with me. Sometimes I use my phone, but I try not to carry my camera around all the time because I don't want it to like fully consume us. And I mean, like, try to take like Sundays off. I try not to do anything on Sundays. It's just kind of like our family time to do stuff just because we are so busy. Sorry, guys.
You're good.
But yeah, I mean, I carry it around twice a week, and then that's kind of, okay, we're good. And then we just do our day-to-day stuff.
I like that. I like the rules, or like the, setting boundaries for yourself. I like that.
Yeah, I just think that you have to, or it like will consume you.
Yes. And I feel like that's manageable too. Like, you get Sundays off and 2 days a week, you're going to try to get your content.
Do our content.
Yep. Yeah. I like that.
Are you scheduling content in advance, or how are you?
Oh, no.
On those 2 days, are you just shooting?
I'm a fly by the seat of my pants kind of thing. I know that I want to do, in my head, I'm like, okay, yes, I want to do 2 reels for this week. And then I just kind of have an idea. And then it's like, okay, we have free time. Like, let's go. I just am, with our lifestyle, it's just kind of, we got to fly by the seat of our pants. And that's kind of how my brain works anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I find it really hard to schedule. I'm like, I know it like could be really helpful, but then like when I'm doing it, I'm like, oh, I hate it. The whole time I'm like trying to schedule it. It's miserable.
Yeah, I guess I call it like reverse scheduling. That's what we call it in homeschool too, reverse scheduling. And I kind of have sort of an idea. And then if it makes time, we just go and do it.
Yeah, I feel like that's an interesting conversation because I think there is 2 sides, where there are the people who like to have things scheduled out and know exactly what it's going to look like, details. And then there's the people who have the creativity would not work for them trying to do that. And I think that's okay.
It just doesn't work like that. And creativity wise, if I had like a schedule to do something, I would freeze. I wouldn't get anything done.
It would limit you and what your capability would be to create something that actually was you and felt like you and felt right. So I get that. Yep.
I feel like that's kind of like ranch life as well too, like farming ranch life, where it's like, let's be flexible. Let's reverse schedule our whole day. Like, I like that. It fits. It makes total sense.
100%. Yes.
Oh, well, is there anything else that you want to talk to us about? Any other new ventures you have on the horizon?
Man, I think that the trees and the pumpkins and P&W beef is about all we can handle right now. Homeschooling's been really good for us, especially with the flexibility. Now I'm not having to worry about having to stay in one spot with school. We can bring homeschool everywhere we go, and then I'm able to travel with my husband and go back and forth, because if we did school, we just wouldn't be able to do that, which has been huge. So
yeah. Where can people find you if they want to follow along with everything you've got going on? Where can people find you?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram is where I'm most active on, and it's Sara Hunter Farms on Instagram.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thanks for taking the time to chat with us today. We had so much fun with you. And I hope
with us.
Absolutely. I hope you guys, as you ramp up for Christmas tree season and you wind down on your pumpkins, I hope that transition is smooth for you guys.
Yeah, thank you. We are ready.
Well, that's it for this episode of the Rural Rundown podcast.
Thanks for listening. You can always find us on social media at The Rural Rundown.
And if you really liked this episode, we would totally love it if you gave us a review and gave us a little rating.
It would mean so much to us. And for more small town roots and business savvy, catch us on the next one.